Connecting you with new customers.
We got 30 seconds.
Leasing
Yeah, sounds
Associates
good.
is a vehicle fleet management company that manages vehicles for small to mid-sized businesses nationwide. We are family-owned and operated and have been in the Houston area since 1958. Did you know Leasing Associates has a fleet and fuel management program? Our leases have no mileage limitations. Did you know we handle titling, registration, and renewals? We also handle any upfitting for your business needs. For more information, give us a call at 281-968-9945 or online at laifleet.com. That's laifleet.com.
This is Business 1110.
The following program, paid for by Right Path Real Estate, does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station. It's time to get on the right path with Right Path Real Estate Radio with Tom Perry. Get the answer to your question that's keeping you from taking action and succeeding today.
Mics are hot.
Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Right Path Real Estate Radio, 713-785-1817. That's 713-785-1817. So today we're going to be talking about investing in real estate.
It's a good subject.
Yeah, why not? Let's talk about getting on the right path to practical real estate investing.
Absolutely.
In fact, we've been working on a new. Oftentimes it's hard to describe what you do. You're out at an event, you're in an elevator, somebody says, "Hey, what do you do?" And then sometimes, a lot of times, people, kind of stumble. Well, I'm an investor. I flip houses, whatever, which is really not like. It doesn't really cause people typically to say, "Oh, wow, tell me more about that," right?
Yeah.
People are like, "All right, next," because you really only have about 10, 15 seconds at most.
Yep. Attention spans are very short.
Yeah. So you want to share with us our one-liner?
So for us, it's we've come to believe that most people lack control of their financial plan, right?
Right.
And once we can show them how to create wealth through real estate, they
Right.
can become confident in their future.
Right.
And for us, that sums up everything we do, right?
It's in our wealth building workshop that we do. We do it twice a week.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays at 6:30, and then also we did one yesterday at noon. We had a good crowd yesterday.
Good crowd, yeah.
Good crowd, and you know what? It was interesting to ask people because it's kind of an interactive thing. It's not like you're like going to the movies where you're not going to interact with the screen. I mean, it's live, interactive, and it's never exactly the same every single time. Right?
Yeah. Did we have slides?
Yeah, right. Well, and part of that is because I realize that the audience is a little bit different, and one of my goals is to really add value to the people that are in the audience. And so when you have people that are coming that are really trying to build wealth and income versus people that are just trying to make money, and there's a difference in
absolutely.
that. And so I want to address what they're asking for. But I also recognize that most people don't come looking at, hey, how do I invest in real estate, even knowing the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
So I want to really provide them not only what are they asking, but I also want to provide them what they should be asking if they knew what I know, for example.
That's it.
And so I want to give them both, because if I just give them what I think they should be asking.
They'll feel like they didn't get what they came for.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we talked about is almost everybody in the room has money in a 401k or an IRA.
Yep.
That not a self-directed like through Quest Trust, but a 401k or an IRA like through their employer, their job, that they've set up. And then I said, how many of y'all that have a 401k can tell me every single thing that it's invested in? And not one person said yes to that.
Out of six.
Out of six folks, which was it was
six professional folks.
Right.
Like these weren't 22-year-olds.
No, right.
Like just got started. Like these.
In fact, I don't think we had a single person under 30.
We didn't.
No, right.
And they were all either working age or retired and had all these retirement accounts.
Right.
And not a single person in there could I don't think tells any of it.
Well, which then you go on, and if you're invested in equities, then what you realize is that you own a portion of a business. And then I asked the question, hey, Economics 101 says if you're going to buy a business or a portion of a business, do you want to buy a business low or you want to buy it high?
I think high is probably not the right way to do
it.
So you want to go low?
Yeah, so most people say, buy low, sell high.
Yeah, with anything.
With anything, right? Now, so if you don't even know what you've bought,
How do you know you bought low?
How do you know if you bought low?
You don't.
Right, which is kind of like I feel almost silly even asking the question because I'm not trying to make anybody feel stupid or I'm not trying to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but it is kind of a head snap moment when you go, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah.
Because, what I'm really trying to ask is if your 401k or your IRA is your number one way that you're working your way towards retirement, how do you ever measure how you're doing?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's nothing more than a statement that says, oh, it's red or it's green. Almost every statement, they print statements in color now, right?
Yeah.
Or email them, to save trees, right?
If you're even opening them.
If you're even opening them, right.
Even open them. And what blows my mind is, especially in today's information age.
Yeah, right.
Right? I mean, when people are making a $200 purchase, they're comparing Amazon, Best Buy. Like, they're looking to see where they can save the $20.
Right.
Like, which one is going to be the right purchase.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something so important as their family's future,
right,
the end of their life, their golden years.
Okay, so I got a story. I read this article this morning, and really talking about value, right? Yeah. So Payless Shoes, you've heard of them, right?
Absolutely, been there.
Did you hear did you hear the gimmick they pulled?
I did not.
Oh, this is amazing. So what they did is there was an Armani store in LA that had just shut down.
Okay.
So what Payless what Payless does is they go and they take over that former Armani store and they create a new brand called Pelessi, right? P-E-L-E-S-S-I, something like that, right? They have a big grand opening. They're basically putting Payless shoes out there that you can only pick up from like $19.99 to $14.99, and they invite some influencers. I mean, some people that have like hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, stuff like that. And it's a champagne grand opening, all that kind of stuff. Nobody knows it's Payless. They think it's this new designer, right? And they're noticing the quality, and some people are willing to pay like $800 for a pair of shoes. Like, they literally go to the cash register, pay the money. Now, Payless didn't actually accept their money, but they let them go through the transaction, and then there was a big reveal.
Wow.
That it was like, so how often can we compare value, when we're looking? Now, that's with something like shoes, right?
Yeah.
That something that you could easily go out and buy for $19.99 or $49.99. Somebody's willing to pay $600, but it doesn't mean that you're getting value for your dollar, right?
Exactly.
So even worse when you're investing in your it's one thing if you made a bad purchase on a pair of shoes, right? That's but it's the mindset, it's the thinking that goes into that. Am I getting value for the dollar? Now, we know that we can take that to extremes. We oftentimes, I had a bookkeeper one time told me that she was really proud of herself that she was not balancing on her books one time, and she was off by like 2 pennies.
Okay.
And so she spent like 6 hours tracking down and finally found where she was off on those 2 pennies. And I said, you know what? You ever do that with me, you're fired, because that's one of the dumbest things I've heard. You make like $20-25 an hour. So you just spent like $150
of your money.
Of my money trying to find 2 pennies when all you had to do is just do a journal entry, that says, hey, lost money 2 cents, right? And move on. You could have done that in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you would have balanced. And you can overthink it to the point where you're not really getting good value for the dollar. And so I'm not trying to teach that, but I am trying to teach how can you measure if you don't even know what you're invested in? How do you know if you're buying low? And I've given this example before, but it was worth repeating. I've talked about a flower shop. Let's say that there's a flower shop that's making $1 million a year. And I did this exercise yesterday, and I said, look, if the owner is completely passive, he brings in $1 million a year of net profit, and he never goes to the flower shop. It's self-managed. There's a general manager, there's a CEO, a CFO. They do $10 million a year in sale, 10% gross margin. They're making $1 million a year. And they've been doing that for years and years. And now finally the guy that's making $1 million a year wants to retire. He just wants to cash out. He wants to get as much for it as he can. So would you start the bidding at $1 million? Would you bid $1 million for that?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's 100% rate of return.
Year one.
Yeah, Buffett would do that in a heartbeat,
absolutely.
right? Now, would you pay $2 million? And so I got $1 million. Would you give me $2 million?
Me, absolutely.
That's a 50% rate of return.
Yes.
I mean, so then $4 million. That's a 25% rate of return. Would you invest $4 million?
I would.
And I keep going up $8 million. We lost everybody at the $8 million mark.
For me, the $8 million mark is I'm probably still in.
Yeah, it's 12.5%.
12.5%. And here's the thing: it's safe and guaranteed. Right?
It is safe and
guaranteed. So for me, I'm
right.
still in at 12.5%.
Right.
Now, past that,
right?
No, probably not.
10 million.
So many. 10 million. When you get down to 10%, there's so many other options.
Right. 10 million
for me, because we know enough about real estate. But for the average person,
right,
who's getting 7% in the stock market
or less, right, or losing money in the because you could lose, you could make 7% or you could lose 30, right?
Depending on the day. We talked to a guy yesterday or the day before that had that exact experience.
Yeah, he needs to his portfolio's got to rise $70,000 to get to back to even.
Back to even.
Yeah. So he went a negative 70,000. So that's not winning. So back to this. So at 10 million, that's a 10% rate of return. And then when you look at so really what we're talking about is a PE ratio, right?
Yep.
I'm talking about at what price would you pay for earnings? That's really what investors are evaluating. So at a $5 million for $1 million of earnings, that's a 5 PE, and then at 10 million and $1 million, that's a 10 PE. And most people don't look at a PE. If you don't even know what stocks you own, you certainly don't know the PE.
But let's assume most people are invested in the Fortune 500s, right?
Right.
So the big boy stocks, the safe ones, the Apples, the Amazons and the Exxons and that sort of stuff, right? What is the average PE for Fortune 500 companies?
Well, I know Apple's is like 17.5.
17.5.
So in other words, you're paying $17.5 million for every $1 million in net profit that they bring in.
But most people would be way out on the flower shop.
Right. They'd be way out. They wouldn't buy on a 10 PE, but not knowing, and the average PE of the Fortune 500 is over 20.
Wow.
So that means they're paying $20 million for a flower shop that makes $1 million. And which doesn't make sense from an evaluation standpoint.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. So how do you so if you know that the goal is buy low, sell high, and you're not doing that in your investments, then how do you ever get to a successful retirement? So we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to Right Path Real Estate Radio. If you want to call in, our number is 713-785-1817. And Andy is our call screener. Give Andy something to do. Call in, ask a question. Hey, Sasha, welcome.
Mics are off.
What's going on, Glenn?
Hey, and Chris, if you'll do me a favor, when you're make mics go live, don't turn down the music until I actually start talking, because I like the entrance of that music to play a little bit, and you're killing the music, and so you can make my mics go live. But leave the music playing until I start talking, okay?
General contractor.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool, man. Thanks.
Then call Fast Track
Good morning, Glenda. What's up, Jorge?
742-9992.
Good morning, Ashley.
On the web at fasttrackremodeling.com.
Billy, what's going on, man?
Specializes in turnkey remodeling of single-family investment properties.
Thanks, Jorge. I appreciate you.
Flip, rehab, or a rental rehab. No more managing it yourself.
Raimundo, what's going on?
Fast Track Remodeling really does manage it all.
So give us a call today at 832-742-9992.
Good morning, Mr. Perry.
Do you need a lender
What's going on, Charles?
at the speed of a jet to fund your
Adam Helms, how's it going?
Jet Lending will help you purchase properties quickly with as little cash out of pocket as possible. Jet Lending also sets up a repair escrow fund to help you with repair costs. Jet Lending is your fast and friendly hard money source for first-time investors and seasoned professionals. Call 281-872-7800 or email us at info@jetlending.com.
Real estate investors, if you're not familiar with Quest IRA, let me tell you what you're missing. We've got free weekly educational classes, networking opportunities, and the ability to tap into trillions of dollars for your real estate investing deals.
Glenda, did we start to tell a story and then not tell it?
As we simulcast all of our educational classes every Tuesday morning and evening.
What story we're about to tell?
I don't know. I don't know if it was me or you. I know we do it.
Yeah, we do that, right?
We had some people calling us on Monday going, "What's number 3?"
Yeah, a coach.
Yep.
Time is money in a real estate deal. If your insurance company is slow or non-responsive, you could lose a deal like that. You need a quick turnaround on quotes or binders? The agency for that is Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. The team at Benchmark understands
It was me,
the investment
okay.
mindset. They know what you need and when you need it. We're here for you. Are you a rehabber, wholesaler?
What story?
buy and hold
I don't know.
broker?
Oops.
Bundling your property
Sorry.
on a single policy will help save time and money.
Linda, if you can give me any more information to
Here's what I know is
give
if
me
it was a
jog.
good story, we'll probably remember it sometime throughout the hour. So
Package. Call us and let us
'Cause-
show you what we can do for you at 281-569-4353.
If only this thing was scripted, I'd know.
That's
Yeah,
281-569-4353. Or online at
Well,
benchmarkbroker.com.
in our pre-show meeting, we talked about
in our hour planning session.
Yeah, right.
Online at
That was the story we chose.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute until we return.
Selecting a
All right, thank
foundation
you, Chris.
company and their product for repair is a lot like a game of chance. You simply don't know what you're going to get. The foundation repair industry as a whole doesn't carry a license, nor is it regulated.
I got
However,
71
Foundation Tech
requests for
utilizes
friends.
professional
I try to
engineers
keep up with them, man. I get about 10 or 15 a day.
the best
Yeah.
foundation analysis
And
for today's market.
I'm that guy that I actually go in and look to see.
Are they real people?
Yeah, like I won't just accept.
Yeah, I
can't
don't
handle
either.
it.
Or you can reach us online at
Well, my problem is
foundationcheck.com.
You found or inherited
I've only
a
got
great
room for
investment property.
12.
You don't know how much it's worth, or more importantly, what to do to
I'm not at that level yet.
while mitigating risk.
So,
This is exactly why
you
we're
got to choose
starting
wisely.
Next
Yeah.
Appraisals. Next Gen is
Or go
a
back
group
and
of
start,
appraisers specializing in
I normally
real estate. We
my
understand
criteria is
investors
that
aren't just
we got to
looking
have
for a
we got to have
number
some
of what
people
their
that in
property's
common.
worth, but a comprehensive analysis of the market.
10 seconds
So
now.
typically, if it's more than 30 mutual friends, I
Yeah.
don't even check on you.
Yeah, so like
But
like
if
this
it's
Kevin,
two-
we
if
got
it's-
we got 170.
I know Kevin.
Yeah.
So if it's 2 or 3,
Yeah. So since
then you could just be friends with a couple weirdos I know.
Right.
So I'll screen you.
At Anderson Advisors, we
I totally
provide
timed that
tax
wrong.
reduction
Yeah.
through
It's
all
asset
right.
protection for real estate investors throughout the country. Our unique philosophy has CPAs, lawyers, bookkeepers,
Yeah, when
and
I-
estate
when I see
planners
it-
with
You
one
know the
common
6
goal,
people on that screen,
helping
Yeah,
you,
pretty
the
good.
real
Yeah.
estate investor. Check us out today at AndersonAdvisors.com.
Called leveraging. You're hoping everybody
And
else
don't forget
reviewed
to
these
tell us
people.
You heard about us at Right
All
Path
right, coming
Real
back,
Estate.
standing by.
This is Business 1110.
Mics are hot.
Hey, welcome back. Right Path Real Estate Radio, 713-785-1817.
It's been a couple weeks since we had a call, man.
It has.
I can't believe everybody out there has no question. Man, Houston must be on top of things.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm surprised at, that there's not somebody asking a marketing question, a funding question, sell. You know, it's interesting. I got in a conversation at the Redneck Country Club event, and you know what? This is typical. You know, if you hang around with me for very long, you're gonna know pretty much where I stand on pretty close to everything.
Okay.
You know, because I'm transparent like that, right? So I'm not a huge fan. I know that there's some people out there. In fact, I'm good friends with Mitch Stevens, for example.
Okay.
And Mitch is, you know, My Life in 1,000 Houses
Yep.
is the book that he's written, and he's. I mean, I'd call him this, you know, the owner finance king, right?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, seller finance king, right?
Yeah.
And he buys properties all different ways. He buys some subject to, he buys some just for cash. I mean, and he's been doing it a long time. And heck, you know his story. He's got this system. I mean, he's probably got a couple of hundred credit cards with big dollar amounts on them, and he buys a lot of houses on credit cards. Or does a cash advance, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? And again, I don't recommend all of that, but so I've done the math comparing if I have 100 houses and I sell them all seller financing, what do I have at the end of 30 years? Versus if I buy 100 houses as buy and hold, you know, let's say an average house is $150,000, and then, you know, what do I have 30 years from now? And 30 years from now, I have a big asset number if I do it buy and hold. 30 years from now, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
And so I don't like that. When I look at one strategy versus the other, now, do we ever do a property seller finance? Absolutely. Do I like that as a strategy for doing every single property? So the answer is no. And so, for example, I had a guy came up to me, and he knows that he does a lot of seller finance. He tries to find everything subject to. and because he's part of another real estate group that's what they teach, and part of it is because they attract a lot of people that come into real estate with no money,
no credit, no
yeah,
job,
right,
all that stuff.
And so part of their shtick is, if you could buy houses with, if you could buy all the houses with no money, no job, no credit, how many could you buy? And the answer is all of them,
Absolutely.
right? But the reality is that when you really get into doing a subject to, what my experience is, almost everybody. And there are exceptions to this. Like we bought a property subject to this. In fact, we haven't closed on it yet, but we contracted it last week.
Yeah.
And the people are not behind in their mortgage, which is highly unusual.
Yes.
In fact, that's the first one since we've been doing this for 5 years. It's the first one that I know of that we're buying where they're not behind in the mortgage.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And they really only want about $5,000 to move out. They just want to walk away, and then they want $5,000, and it doesn't really need a lot of repairs.
It doesn't.
But what I'll tell you is that is such a unicorn type scenario that it happens. Well, probably unicorn is probably a bad example, like a white elephant, because a white elephant can exist.
Yes, unicorns can't.
Unicorns cannot, right? And no feedback from the Facebook folks on that. All right.
So here's the question, and this is where I see an issue with a lot of the people that are in this space doing what we do, is we know that those white elephants exist.
Yeah, they do.
Right? Mm-hmm. So what happens is somebody takes that white elephant and they build a case study out of it.
Right, sure.
And then they start marketing it.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're taking that white elephant and they're trying to trick people in to coming to see what they're doing and to do it with them, knowing that you can't do that very often.
Yeah, to me it's so rare. To me it's a little bit like, can a batter, as a professional baseball player, as kids, you remember being a kid, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, probably played some stickball or some baseball, right? Swung a few bats, and everybody's like, come on, Tom Perry, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, World Series, Game 7, right? And, grand slam, home run, hero, stomp on the home plate, right? But you can't really build a business model out. Is that duplicate? Could you do that year after year after year? No, you can't. That's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So what we oftentimes talk about is, it's great that you did that one time, and you got to have the skill set to be able to do that. But is it duplicatable and repeatable? Can you do that 50, 75, 100 times in a year, right? And the answer is, imagine you're in the flower business and you cultivate a really rare flower. Could you sell? Could you imagine a scenario where you could create this perfect flower? Could it sell for $1 million? Potentially, I guess. Would I want to count on that as my business model going forward? Selling $1 million flower. You only need one a year, and you're killing it.
Or would you want to? You hear a lot of the stigma in the car industry when they say, "Oh, we've got the new Toyota Tundra for
18,888."
And then you show up, you're like, "Hey, I want that." Well, we only had one of those.
Yeah, right. And you're late.
And you're late.
It's 9:01. You just opened up at 9.
Exactly.
Sorry, you should have been here 30 seconds ago.
Somebody got here right before you. Right. But we've got all these other things.
Yeah, right.
And if you've got to do that to get people in the door, if you've got to trick people into this business, that's not what this business is about. This business is about creating wealth, and you can do that with a simple, repeatable process over a long period of time.
Yeah,
even a short period of time.
Right.
But long period of time, why not?
So Ellen's asking us a question on the Book of Faces. Helen, she's saying, what markets are you in? And my short answer is the real estate market.
Absolutely.
Now, if you mean geographically, because that's kind of an ambiguous question, I assume you don't mean like real estate versus the flower business. We're not in the flower shop business, but we tell stories about it. Yeah, I have a good buddy of mine that is. He's got but we're in the Houston markets where we broadcast from. Now we've done properties in Houston, Dallas. I've never done one in San Antonio. I've got a property in Point Comfort right now. We've done it in Beaumont. And we have students in Seattle and San Francisco and Kansas City and Tennessee and Nashville, Memphis,
Pittsburgh, Boston, you name it.
Yeah, so we're tied in through our students. We know what we're doing works across the country. Now, some markets are better than others. Like one of our students in San Francisco, for example, because of our relationship, he buys like 3 properties a month here in Houston.
He comes down about every 6 weeks.
Because rental properties, that's his strategies. Because we teach, there's 4 ways to make money in real estate. That's single family buy and hold. There's buy, fix, and flip. There's wholesaling. That's where you get a property under contract and you actually sell the contract. And then the 4th one is being a lender. We teach all 4 of those ways. And he lives in San Francisco, and it's impossible to get a single family house to cash flow as a rental in San Francisco.
Yes, that is correct.
But it is not only possible, but it's not uncommon. In fact, I'd say it is common to be able, if it's done correctly. And here's what I recognize is lady stayed late yesterday, right?
Yep.
And she was talking about like, well, what about condos or townhouses versus single family houses? Or what about, and we got into a conversation about that. Or we also got into the conversation about what about a paid off house versus a leveraged house? And, and I gave the example, like, let's say that I have $150,000 as a nest egg. And I go just buy a house for cash, $150,000. I can certainly do that. And then I pay taxes and insurance. And then let's say it rents for $1,500 a month, and I've got which is like $18,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
And I've got $3,000 a year that goes out in taxes and insurance. Well, then I'm making $15,000 a year in cash flow, about $1,250 a month, I think, something like that. So I've got $1,250 a month of cash flow coming in, and that property's going to appreciate about 7%.
So you'll get appreciation on that one property.
About $10,500.
Yes.
But then I said, what if I divided that $150,000 up into 5 $30,000 chunks?
20% down on 5 similar assets.
Correct. So now with leverage, what happens is when I'm leveraged 5 to 1, I'm really leveraging the appreciation.
Yeah. So
instead of getting 7% on one property, I can get 7% on 5 properties. So the question is, would you rather earn 7% on $150,000 or 7% on $750,000?
And here's the crazy thing: the cash flow, between the 1 and the 5,
it's about the same.
It's about the same.
Yeah, it is.
But you're giving up over $40,000 a year in appreciation.
Yes.
By not leveraging.
Yes.
In
2 minutes.
For me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right. If it's a self-collateralizing asset.
Well, what you're talking about is, do you want your asset base? Now, for the same $150,000, if you have 7% of appreciation on that $150,000, it's $10,500. But 5 times $10,500 is $52,500. If I'm doing it in my head. So, I'd rather have my portfolio grow 52.5
than 10.5.
Yeah. And what it is, hey, these are people that are coming, they're smart.
Yes.
But we oftentimes make choices that aren't smart. I mean, if I give you this A-B comparison, I don't know why anybody would say, well, I'd rather make $10,500 on $150,000 versus $52,500. But people, for whatever reason, don't connect the dots on that map.
And I think you can take it even farther. Is a lot of times when we make decisions, especially financial decisions, we're thinking about, hey, what's that happen in a year?
Yeah.
But what you've got to do is you've got to put that out 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
It's not a $40,000 difference you're looking at.
No.
In 5 years, that's a $200,000 difference.
Yes.
In 10 years, that's a $400,000 difference.
If it's
more than that, because you're going to be getting appreciation on
compound. It's compounded, right?
It's compounded
Yes.
appreciation.
Yes.
So now you're looking at $500,000 in 10 years.
If it's 200,005, it's 410. It's 800,000 or almost $1 million in 20 years, and you're not working harder. You're not having to save more. That's just on 5. That's just with 150,000.
That's not $1 million total. That's $1 million difference.
Yes. Yes.
In the two strategies.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes, it is. This is what we talk about. So I know the music tells me I'm out of time on this segment. So you're listening to Right Path Real Estate Radio. If you want to join in this conversation, I don't think we've ever talked about this before on the radio, but
probably not.
713-785-1817. Tell Andy, our call screener, hello, and that you want to be on the air and you want to ask a question or participate in the call. Hey, diddle diddle.
Mics are off.
What's going on, Rhett? How they doing in Louisiana, buddy? Steve, what's going on? All the way from New York. Ryan from Dallas. What's up, D-Dubs?
Did you know that there are
Representative
over
Willis?
$24 trillion in
Sonia?
retirement accounts in
Mr.
the
Martinez,
US?
how are you, sir?
Imagine if you could use someone's IRA to fund all of your deals. Well, you can.
Good morning,
Quest
Andrew.
IRA
Okay,
is based
last time
locally
they
here in
come in for the
Houston,
music?
Texas.
Yeah, huh?
At Quest IRA,
Was that okay?
we offer
Yeah, I loved it.
retirement
Yeah,
accounts
perfect.
that can be
Yes.
used to invest
Thanks.
in real estate,
Yeah, you
promissory
nailed it.
notes, private entities, and much
That's 'cause
more.
I didn't know when
Many
you
of our
want me to
clients
put the
loan
mics
money
on.
from
You want
their
the music to play
IRAs
longer
to
or,
fund
like,
real
put the
estate
mics
deals
on?
all
Yeah,
over
you
the
can go ahead and turn the
country.
mics on, and I'll come in when I'm ready. And when I come in,
However, we
then
do
you can
hold
start,
free
fade
networking
the music out.
events. We
Good morning,
do
Emily.
educational classes
Tell-
and free
tell John and me I
consultations
said
with
what's
an
up.
That gives me
IRA
the control on when I
For
want to come
more
in.
information, visit our website at questira.com.
Because there's certain parts of the songs that I like to hear. You know, there's like a punchline at the beginning of a lot of these songs, especially in our intro at the very beginning. I mean, I like to welcome to the show. I like that to play before.
At 1-855-IRAs.
Okay, yeah,
or
that's
go to
my
our
bad because
website,
I haven't fully heard your intro, but
questira.com.
for next
Yeah.
time I'll definitely make sure
Yeah.
that,
You
that
have
happens.
cracks
Cool,
in your
man.
brick, doors that stick, or sheet
Morning,
metal
Daniel.
coming apart, then you may have foundation movement. Due to our expansion
Because I think
soils in the Houston area,
you're going to become our full-time producer. Is that right?
all foundation checks
No, they're
are
actually
truly
looking for your
independent,
full-time producer right now.
All right, that's not something you want to do, huh?
Foundation check has been in business
Well, I'm here. I'm the
since
I'm the
2009
weekend supervisor,
and has
so it'll
completed
really
over
eat up my
1,400
hours.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
We're not in
I
the
understand.
business of repairing foundations or selling you unnecessary peer work, but we are in the business
Oh.
of evaluating your.
All right, I'll do that. It's
Our product is
713
designed for house flippers,
785
landlords, or even owner-occupied
1817.
properties. Each of our files is reviewed by a licensed engineer. Remember to check before ever repair. Call 346-702.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember that.
That's
Yeah, and I'm not.
702-3825, or you can
Yeah, and then
reach us
that's like a
online
3-day
at
fight.
foundationcheck.com. That's
Yeah.
foundationcheck.com.
Are you looking for an investor-friendly general contractor for your investment property? Then call Fast Track Remodeling at
All right, guys, 2 minutes to come back.
832-742-9992 or reach us on the web at fasttrackremodeling.com.
I assume
Fast
Steve's
Track
related.
Remodeling specializes
Steve is
in
my
turnkey
first cousin.
remodeling
Nice.
single-family investment
Yeah.
properties. Whether
He
it's
lives,
a flip rehab or
up
a
in New
rental
York.
rehab,
Oh, nice.
we manage every aspect of a rehab from start to finish with a highly efficient, standardized process.
Over the last 6 years, Fast Track has completed over 700 projects, which has helped us to create
Okay.
our 3 keys to success. Use a detailed scope of work so that everything gets done, train and maintain quality crews so it gets done right, and complete the work in a proper order so it gets done fast.
No more managing it yourself, no more doing the work yourself. Fast Track Remodeling
There you
really
go.
does manage it all.
So give us a call
should
today.
have that on here
at
somewhere.
Yeah, right.
742
As well as our,
9992. Again, that's 832-742-9992, or reach us on the web at
I bet Andy can make that happen. Not Andy, the call screener, but
Time is money.
our other
Our
Andy.
Andy.
Our Andy.
Adam.
Company
We'll call him
is
Adam.
Minute to come back.
non-responsive. You could lose a deal like that.
Raymond, what's going on, man?
Quick turnaround on quotes or binders. The agency for that is Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. The team at
Awesome.
Benchmark understands the investor mindset. They know what you
That was
need.
about a minute ago, but yeah.
We're here for you. Are you a rehabber, wholesaler, buy and hold, or flipper? Bundling your properties on a single policy will help save time and money. Benchmark has been in business for over 10 years, and we insure over 30,000 properties. Contact Benchmark about our exclusive investor package. Call us and let us show you what we can do for you at 281-569-4353. That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com. That's benchmarkbroker.com. That's
Back in 10, stand by.
281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com.
This is Business 1110.
Mics are hot.
All right, welcome back. Right Path Real Estate Radio, 713-785-1817. 713-785-1817. So it's a, David, let me know. Oh.
He's doing that because I'm calling him Adam.
David, if you do. That's funny. Yeah. Hey, so you know, we've been doing this radio show. It'll be 3 years in February.
Yes.
And so a lot of times people, they'll say, oh, well, what is it, a podcast? And like it is. I mean, we have a podcast component to it, right? Because eventually it's on iHeart and iTunes and TuneIn Radio, and then also you can go to Business 1110 KTEK and you can you can listen live through the radio station's website, or you can also they save every show in their drop down, because you click on the show and then there's drop down by date and all that. But then we also broadcast live. We had somebody recently said, "Well, I listened to you on the radio, but I didn't know that you also broadcast on Facebook," because we mentioned it a couple of times. So
twice.
And I just realized that about 2 weeks ago that Facebook.com and FB.com are the same.
There you go.
Yeah, somehow they were able to get that FB.com. So if you go to FB.com or Facebook.com/Right Path Real Estate, and then when we go live on the air, we're broadcasting. We actually start the show about maybe 30 seconds before the show goes live, something like that. And then so if you're listening on terrestrial radio, you don't hear what's happening during the breaks. You hear all the commercials. Yeah. But typically there's some back and forth dialogue we're interacting with.
And what I find too is often on terrestrial radio, you're listening in your car, you got to run into the cleaners.
Yeah, right, of course.
Something happens, you get a phone call, whatever. Yeah. What's cool about Facebook is you can go back and watch that anytime for the rest of the day. You can go back and watch last week's shows.
Right.
So if you miss something, you're like, oh man, I really wanted to hear what they said, which I find people very often experience with me.
Yeah.
Right. That was
joking. I got it.
So you can go back and watch that, right?
Right.
And that's pretty cool.
That's
not a lot of radio shows you can do that with.
Right. So it's on Facebook and also on AM 1110. And then so before the break, we were really talking about if you had $150,000, and imagine if you had, so you can obviously leverage that if you had more, but with $150,000, you could buy one house, or you could leverage that and buy 5 houses. And the real big difference on that is that right now in that price range, in that space, we're averaging about 7% appreciation. Now, this lady last night, she goes, well, my friend, she's got a condo that's probably worth 170, and it's not appreciating like that. And I said, well, yeah, that's right, because condos are different than single family houses.
They are.
And so we got into that discussion, and so one of the things that we were talking about is I said, look, an HOA, oftentimes condos have HOA fees that are like not $300 or $400 like a year, like a lot of single family, but a month, like $300 a month. And the way I look at that is, I remember, in the car business, people talk about that for every $5,000 of car purchase price, that it's really about $100 a month in terms of premium. Okay. I mean, or of payments.
Yep.
So $25,000 car is about $500 a month with no money down, right? Yeah. $30,000 car is about $600 a month, et cetera, right? Well, in houses, it's about 1% of the value of the house typically, right? Okay. So if you're talking about for every $100 a month, that's really like $10,000 because you're financing it over 30 years as opposed to over 60 months, like 5 years, like a car, right? So if you've got a $300,000 house, historically, now it's lower than this now because we have lower interest rates than normal. But if you look over like the last, let's say 50, 60, 70 years, I mean, the median interest rate's about 6.5%, 7%. Yep. And so at 7%, it's about 1% for the house. So when you're looking at what effect does a $300 a month HOA have, to me, that's like if it didn't have the HOA fee, then that would be on purchasing power, right? You'd have $300 a month that could go. So you're really decreasing the value of the property, in my opinion, about $30,000.
Wow.
So in other words, that's if you've got the payment on a $170,000 condo or townhouse, plus you add another $300 a month, that's like the equivalent of a $200,000 single family house. Yes. Now, that's a price point that I don't like $200,000 houses because they don't normally rent for 1% of the value.
They don't.
So you don't get a $200,000 house that rents for $2,000 a month typically. They rent for, $1,500, $1,600 a month, something like that.
Sometimes 17,
right?
Depending on how new it is.
Correct.
That sort of thing.
And what they were saying is, hey, in this townhouse area, it's a $170,000 townhouse, and it rents for about $1,425, $1,450 a month.
Plus maintenance? Or is that including
Well, it's renting. That's the rental rate.
But the owner's paying the wow.
So it's a negative cash flow.
Absolutely.
So if you're not getting positive cash flow, and you're not getting the same appreciation that a single family house is, and you never will.
Yeah.
Condos and townhouses don't appreciate as much as single family houses do.
They appreciate,
but
nowhere near at the same rate.
Because given the choice for the average family, would I rather This is like would I rather, and this is like supply and demand, right? Is there more demand for people that want to live in a townhouse as a family, or more demand that someone wants to live in a condo, or more demand? Now, is there a demand for townhouses and condos? Yes, but is there as much demand for townhouses and condos as there is for single-family houses?
Absolutely
No. Now, we could also say there's not as many townhouses and condos as there are single-family houses, right? So. But what I'd say is there's always greater demand for the single-family house.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, retail demand.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you consider the value of that townhouse or condo to be below replacement cost?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes, I would.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, in fact, if you look at new townhouses and condos, most of them are still $200,000 plus when they're built brand new, right?
So I would say that's probably the only reason they're getting the little bit of appreciation
Correct.
they are.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, and then what we look at is duplexes, for example, because we had this conversation with this lady. She wanted to ask about duplexes, and I said, well, with a single-family house, if I bought it as an investor, if I ever go to sell it, then I have two different potential buyers. I can sell it to another investor, or I can sell it to an end-user owner-occupant. That end-user owner-occupant could buy it retail, right?
Yeah.
So I've got two strategies. Now, if I've got a duplex, for example, you don't typically sell duplexes retail because no one's going to buy both sides typically. So the person that's buying a duplexes typically exceed single-family houses on a cash flow basis, but they fall behind single-family houses on an appreciation basis. Now, is there a reason to do that? Yeah, but you have to know that you're choosing that. And what I find is that people aren't oftentimes investing by design.
Yeah.
Or for like, hey, I'm consciously making it, when you're picking a place to go for vacation, you're picking it by design, and then you work backwards with how do I want to get there, right? And then what I find oftentimes is people haven't decided where they're trying to get to a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and then what's the fastest vehicle to get me from here to there. Now, I know people that have chosen vehicles and they've decided, hey, I want to take 10 years to get from here to there. And some people choose 10 years because they're giving themselves enough leeway to not really have to do it aggressively, or not knowing that same thing can be done in 5 years. Now, there's a difference between not knowing it can be done in 5 years versus, hey, I know it can be done in 5 years, and I still choose 10 years. Now, I'm not... That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when people make decisions not knowing the cost of doing it differently.
So I think when you're talking about a duplex play, right, if you have somebody that is trying to build as much cash flow as fast as possible, that makes sense, right? But if somebody's goal is to build wealth over a 10, 15-year period, and they're getting the duplex, which is creating cash flow now, they aren't necessarily making the right choice based on where they're trying to get to.
Yeah,
and they're doing that because they don't understand.
Right, that's exactly right. So I'll ask the question: if I have equity in my primary and wanted to pull it out to buy investments, would there be a time frame I needed to stay in the refinanced home, turn it into a rental? So what I'm not sure about there, are you talking about turning your primary residence into a rental, or are you talking about doing a home equity line of credit or something like that?
She's talking about doing a cash out refi.
Okay.
And also wanting to move out of the house she's in.
Yeah.
And turn that into a rental as well.
Okay.
And what she's asking is typically when you finance a new home
right.
that you're living in,
correct,
the mortgage company requires that you live there for a certain number of years.
Okay.
Right? What she's asking is, does that same requirement come along with a cash out refi? And I think the answer is is probably no.
No. Now you normally one of the questions we get a lot is sometimes people will go in and in order to close quickly and all that, let's say it's a $150,000 house and they want to go in and just use their own cash. And then not realizing that a lot of times if you're going to go with a traditional mortgage, something like that, there's a 6-month seasoning requirement on that property in order for you to pull money out of it. And so often that's why you see a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go in and purchase it especially when it needs rehab, they'll buy it with hard money. And they'll get the purchase price and the rehab money because you might be all in at, let's say, 75% of what the after repair value would be. And so hard money lenders will lend based on the after repair value, but traditional mortgages will only lend based off of purchase price.
Correct.
1 minute.
And then so they don't take into consideration what it's worth when it's finished. And so let's say I'm going to buy a $150,000 house, and let's say it needs $30,000 in repairs. So 70% of 150 is like 105, and minus 30,000. Let's say I'm able to buy it for 75,000.
Okay.
So hard money lender would lend me the 75, and then as I do the repairs, they'd reimburse me for that. So once I've spent the 30,000, I will have gotten all my 30,000 from the hard money lender. So they will have lent me the full 105 of the 150. Then after the rehab is done, now I've got $105,000 mortgage. I can take that mortgage to a mortgage company and show them, hey, look, this is what I owe, and they'll run an appraisal, and they'll go, oh, well, it appraises at 150, and you're only trying to refinance. They'll typically lend up to 80% of the appraised value on a refi, and so I'm not trying to pull money out at that point. If I were trying to pull money out, I'd have to wait 6 months.
Yes.
But if I'm just trying to replace the hard money mortgage with a traditional, a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac mortgage or something like that, they'll do that, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days. I've seen it done in 30 days.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're listening to Right Path Real Estate Radio, 713-785-1817. That's 713-785-1817 is our call-in number. So you can either call in or you can participate on the Book of Faces and ask questions there. So, Chris, how much time do I have left? Oh, the music's playing. Gotta go.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Mics are off.
Steven, what's going on? Matthew, what's going on? Felt weird calling you Matthew.
Hello, real estate
What's going on, Matt?
Do you need a lender that moves fast at the speed of a jet to fund your investment properties? Jet Lending will help you purchase properties quickly with as little cash out of pocket as possible. Jet Lending also sets up a repair escrow fund to help you with repair costs. Jet Lending has originated over 2,000 loans in Texas, valued at over $250 million. Jet Lending will help you evaluate your deals for free and give you feedback on value, cost.
Hello, how are you? Pleasure to meet you.
Jet Lending is your fast and friendly hard money source for first-time investors and seasoned professionals. Call 281-872-7800 or email us at info@jetlending.com. Oh, and don't forget about our famous Third Wednesday Super Investor Networking Meeting. Lots of fun, lots of great real estate talk. We'll see you there.
You found or inherited a great investment property. Problem is, you don't know how much it's worth, or more importantly, what to do to maximize your investment while mitigating risk. This is exactly why we started Next Gen Appraisals. Next Gen is a group of appraisers specializing in investment real estate. We understand that investors aren't just looking for a number of what their property is worth, but a comprehensive analysis of the market. Give NextGen a call at 713-346-9911 or check us out online at nextgenappraisals.com.
Selecting a foundation company and their product for repair is a lot like a game of chance. You simply don't know what you're going to get. The foundation repair industry as a whole doesn't carry a license, nor is it regulated. However, Foundation Check utilizes professional engineers to review all of our files, give you the best foundation analysis in today's market. Remember to check before every repair. Call 346-702-3825, or you can reach us online at foundationcheck.com. Are you looking for an investor-friendly general contractor for your investment property? Then call Fast Track Remodeling at 832-742-9992 or reach us on the web at fasttrackremodeling.com.
Fast Track Remodeling specializes in turnkey remodeling of single-family investment properties, whether it's a flip rehab or a rental rehab. No more managing it yourself. No more doing the work yourself. Fast Track Remodeling really does manage it all.
So give us a call today at 832-742-9992.
Hi, Clint Coons here, attorney and avid real estate investor. You know, the
Morning, Mike.
greatest mistake real estate investors make is not understanding the potential liability that exists from owning real estate. At Anderson Business, Legal, and Tax Advisors, we specialize in protecting real estate investors in all 50 states. In addition to structuring your business for optimum protection, we provide guidance so you pay the least amount of taxes available under the law. We have 150 employees that range from lawyers to CPAs to estate planners and much more. Download our free ebook, The Invisible Investor Strategy, today at AndersonAdvisors.com or call for a free risk reduction analysis and financial blueprint at 800-706-4741. Anderson Business Advisors will help you keep more of what you earn. Call us today at 800-706-4741. 4741 and mention Right Path Real Estate.
Time is money in a real estate deal. If your insurance company is slow or non-responsive, you could lose a deal.
30 seconds
like
to
that.
return.
All right.
You need a quick turnaround on quotes, binders, and the agency for that is Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. The team at Benchmark understands the investor mindset. They know what you need and when you need it. It's there for you. Call Houston's leading real estate risk management experts. Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. 281-569-4353.
I know what that
That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com.
This is Business 1110.
Hot mics.
Hey, welcome back. Right Path Real Estate Radio, 713-785-1817. Hey, and, how do you guys feel about Livingston, Texas for rental? Yeah, depends on the part. So I've known some people, because, there's a Lake Livingston, right?
Yeah.
And I know some people, because we've looked at some properties for flips around Lake Livingston.
Yeah.
And there are certain parts of Livingston that are in the flood area, especially close.
Big time.
And so what's happened is, just like I was talking about HOAs for, eating up essentially equity. The same could be said about extremely high flood insurance.
Yes.
If flood insurance goes from, let's say, $500, $600, $700 a year, I've seen situations where I know a lady I talked to personally, and she said, look, my flood insurance 5 years ago was $500 a year, and then it went to $1,000 a year, and the next year it went to $2,000 a year, and the next year it went to $4,000 a year, and then it went to $10,000 a year.
Wow.
And so you're talking about $800 a month.
That's a lot.
For flood insurance. And she says, I can't afford my mortgage anymore. Yeah. And so what you realize is that that's eating up like $80,000 of equity, because an $800 a month payment to insurance is an $800 payment that's not going to a mortgage.
Yes.
And so as long as it's not in an area that's going to be affected by floods, because it's Livingston and Lake Livingston. Now, do people want to live near Livingston? Yes. I like rentals anywhere that there are jobs. So if there's jobs and people wanting to be there,
yes.
I don't like really, really small towns where there's not an influx of people moving in or moving out.
There's got to be industry there.
Yeah, there's got to be some jobs. There's got to be people wanting to move there. And, so what I'd look at is I'd study, I'd get on MLS, and I'd look at the zip codes and I'd see, hey, where are the rentals? And what are the average days on market for renting? And if I started seeing something, 120 days, what I want to see is 30 days or less, right? If you've got a good rental, I'd want to see at what price are they renting 30 days or less. And then you run your numbers, check your insurance numbers, check your taxes, and then principal and interest. And if it cash flows, it makes sense. And then I'd also look at, is it in an area that's appreciating, right? And what I like about Houston, the closer you get into Houston, this is where the jobs are.
Yeah.
They're out by the ship channel. They're in the medical center. It's like if you can recognize that there's never going to be a shortage of hiring near the medical center. And there are $150,000 houses within a 5-mile radius to the medical center.
Lots of them.
Lots of them, yes. So I'd rather have that than, if I'm close to a hospital in Livingston, game on, right? All right. You've been listening to Right Path Real Estate. Hope you have a great weekend. Good golf, good tennis, whatever makes you happy. So have a great weekend, guys.
All right, y'all be good.